Is this your car?
Yes.
328.
How long
I
have you
used to
had
own a
it?
328.
We got this. Thank you. We got this car a little over a year ago.
Where'd you pick it up?
Germany.
Was it restored or you?
Yes. Yes, it was restored.
And then you shipped it back here.
Ran the milli with it and then shipped it back here.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So it is a 1937 BMW 328 Roadster, chassis 17. This is the color in which it was delivered. It is completely numbers matching throughout, which it's believed that less than 10% of the cars made or remain numbers matching. It has great early race history. It raced at Pforzheim and the Nürburgring in period, and did reasonably well. And we have paperwork on it starting from 1959, and documentation of the way it was built and documentation of its racing, of its early racing. So
you enjoy driving it?
It's fantastic.
How often you take it out?
I don't know, once a month, something like that.
Really? That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Can we look at the engine? Would you mind showing us?
Certainly.
Wow. Look at this. Huh. You know what? That could be the nicest engine we've seen the whole time. That's beautiful.
Well, again, another one, Lamborghini did this, BRM did this, where the intake cam and the carburetor, or the carburetors are situated between the cams rather than on the side of the engine. And now, was this originally a Bristol design that BMW adopted? What was the story behind this? Other way around. Bristol adopted the BMW design. Gotcha.
Yeah, so it was the other way around. BMW developed this motor, and then the license for it post-war was awarded to Bristol.
So BMW had to design another one.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
I like the tools. You got a mallet in there in case you got to knock somebody out.
It has the full toolkit,
just like a modern BMW does.
And
it doesn't have a plastic engine cover like a modern BMW.
No.
How did you get into BMWs?
BMWs are what I cut my teeth on. These days I do a lot of Enzo era Ferrari stuff. I do a lot of Aston Martin stuff. But I started with early M cars. That was what I started working with, and fixing up and reselling and playing with them. That's what I started with.
Everybody says that the new class 2002s and everything like that were what established BMW as the automaker it is today. This car probably had a greater impact on that than even those.
You won't sit here and hear me arguing with you. It's in terms of setting it on a course ultimately for success, without this car, I don't think they would have remained relevant post-war. There wouldn't have been a BMW to have a new class if it weren't for this car.
Yeah, this car has established a reputation for performance, but also performance with a minimum of fuss.
Yes.
This was a very reliable car for its day, a very easy to maintain car for its day.
Yes, indeed it was.
As much as you could have a keeper, is this a keeper for you?
I'd be hard pressed to find a sort of better example.
I've never seen one.
Short of these short of some of the special bodied, the touring bodied cars and stuff like that. I mean, you're going to be hard pressed to find one that is numbers matching with the racing history and the history that this exact car has. It's kind of difficult to top. The spats are aerodynamics to call it a black art at the time would have been a colossal understatement. But they were starting to learn and experiment, and so the spats were at it. And
they're pretty cool. And then the wheels in the body color are
So they were a factory option?
Yeah, they were. Yes, they were equipped from the factory. That's correct. Mm-hmm. So it's a really special. I mean, for me, it's funny because there are times where a lot of guys will say, "Oh, I don't like spat." Like for me, if I can put spats on anything, I'm putting spats on it. It just looks cool.
It looks very cool. I think the back is aerodynamic, even though it's not wind tunnel tested.
Now, I'm going to do a little compare and
cool.
contrast here. Yeah. This car, as you said, late 1930s is a 38, correct? So
Yeah, it's
we were
37, yeah.
just over at by the Jaguars, by the SS100s. Those cars are being built at the same time as this one.
This is I think, as beautiful, if not more beautiful car.
Now
The engine
compare,
certainly-
park one next to the other, and just think of the streamlining on this car versus the old world
Yeah.
styling of the Jags.
Yeah.
A very modern car, almost ahead of its time.
It's exceedingly ahead of its time. I mean, in many it drives. It's better to drive than a 120 Jag in many ways. It's I mean, fully independent suspension. A fantastic motor, a ZF 4-speed. It's a remarkably civilized and an advanced vehicle to drive.
Funny thing about BMW, though, at the time, it was not considered an elite mark.
Yeah, it was. I mean, less than 10 years prior to this car being made, BMW didn't exist.
I mean, they made aircraft engines in World War One. Then they made the.
As an automotive manufacturer.
Yeah, the Dixie. It was basically a copy of an Austin 7.
Exactly.
So BMW was not a prestigious auto manufacturer at the time. As a matter of fact, even during the war, they made the radial aircraft engines for the FW-190s.
Yep.
And the Luftwaffe said anything not powered by a DB601 or later isn't that good. I mean, the FW-190 got short shrift because it wasn't powered by Benz.
Yep. So but this car in sports car competition was so dominant that even the NSKK couldn't deny the significance and the competency of this vehicle, and it was extremely dominant and way ahead of its time. But you're correct in that it was sort of BMW was a bit of an unknown before that. Yeah. So yeah.
Pretty awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing us the car. And
my pleasure.
Continue to enjoy it. It's a
Thank
pleasure
you so
to meet
much.
you.